Hey everybody, welcome back. My name's Jacob of Fever Dream, and this week I wanted to talk a little bit about a new manga that started coming out a couple of weeks ago, since my last video actually. There are only 2 chapters out of it so far, but it certainly has made a splash, and not in a good way. Drama Queen is a manga that started coming out 2 weeks ago on Sunday. That's when its first chapter dropped. And it kind of exploded onto the scene, onto the internet in a pretty bad way, as its premise is pretty darn racist. There's not really a way to beat around the bush there. The basic premise seems to be that aliens are completely commonplace on the Earth at this point, after saving the planet from a meteorite that was going to collide with it. We follow Nomomoto, our protagonist, I guess? Well, deuteragonist, I suppose, as she is working in a really, she's working in what seems to be a dead-end job with an abusive boss. That abusive boss happens to be an alien. And so there's obviously some antagonism there, but even from the beginning, Nomomoto has been railing against the aliens, so it seems that there's clearly some prejudice here, but the boss is indisputably abusive, so there's that. You get some very clearly bad relationships. She goes on to meet another guy whose name I think was Kitami, Nomomoto and Kitami I think it is, who she finds out after they bond over a fishing trip together, also hates aliens just as much as she does, because an alien killed his family in a car accident. It's kind of seen as justified, his hatreds towards aliens, but I mean, do aliens drunk drive more than the average person? He's obviously got some feelings about it, as does Nomomoto, but for it to be depicted as justified that he hates an entire group of people, whether they're aliens or humans or not, for a drunk driving incident is kind of ridiculous. But they bond. Eventually, their abusive boss ends up lighting himself on fire, and Nomomoto just watches him burn to death, which is, a way to start things. He dies. I mean, she hated him, so she has a personal relationship with the guy, and he sucks. So, that happens. She gets fired, and then Kitami just shows up at her house with a dead guy, a dead alien, and is like, hey, I need you to help me hide this body because I don't see it as a person. Like, okay, great. Escalates quickly. She eats the whole guy. It's kind of nuts. And they band together and want to rid the world of these aliens. So at its face, I mean, you could try and construe this in some ways. Like, all of this, of course, is my personal read on it and just the vibes that I was getting. But the entire thing seems to be framing it not as an inherent bad thing that they are doing in actually killing and eating these people, and their frustration with them is being justified by the story and the tone that it's portraying them in. Of course, you can have frustration given their circumstances that they're in, right? But projecting their experiences with a couple members of a community onto the whole is just a problem. It becomes a very big problem. Nomomoto is clearly insane, and the other guy seems to be a little bit more level-headed, which is funny considering he's the one who actually killed the guy first. So I actually, I redact that. I don't think he's level-headed. I think he's just as crazy, just in a more low-key way. But, I mean, I don't really know how Drama Queen is going to turn around from this, because, I mean, everybody's been very in on it online, at least from what I've been seeing. Everybody realizes that it's absolutely crazy racist, because, I mean, you can easily just swap out alien for any kind of minority group, right? Like, it's a very clear allegory. It brought to absurd extremes, right? Like, I should hope no one's actually killing and eating people. I suppose we'll have to wait and see if the story improves at all or starts to view them in a more critical lens. Honestly, I think it's really just got some tonal issues. But if it goes in a good direction, well, not a good direction, if it goes in the right direction, I think it could be an interesting deconstruction of bigotry and racism just as a whole. I mean, Nomomoto is, in their own personal dialogue with himself, Nomomoto acknowledges that there's no real reason that they should feel this way about the alien community as a whole, but it goes on to basically start a crusade to eradicate them from their part of town and from the world as a whole in their loftiest ambitions, and also questions whether an asteroid existed in the first place. For the story to be beginning this way as well, with such a violent reaction to the injustices that they have been dealt. Like, again, yes, absolute injustices. Kitami's entire family was killed in a drunk driving car crash, and Nomomoto has had a bad boss. An abusive boss who's really bad, who then burned up in front of her. Like, those are very bad things, but they don't justify at all the reaction that we've seen. If the story wanted to actually portray the aliens in a bad light, as villains of the story, then they could have gone much, much further in justifying Nomomoto and Kitami's hatred for them. But as a whole, the only thing that we've seen are just aliens portrayed as just another group of people. Like, there's nothing that we've seen that suggests that they have any kind of different faculties or abilities or sensibilities from humans. They just have another language that they speak, but otherwise they seem to be totally normal. They don't have a hive mind going on, so there's no kind of collective malice towards humanity happening, at least on a species level. So they're just people analogs. The aliens aren't even depicted as something truly alien. They're just depicted as people with a different language who just showed up in this place one day. As they are depicted in the manga, aliens can be easily swapped out for any kind of ethnic group from anywhere. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with it. Honestly, at this point, we'll have to just wait and see where things go. But as far as we've gotten with these 2 chapters so far, there's some pretty problematic stuff that's inherent to the premise that's being built up. And unless there's some very crazy twists or some pivots in tone and in story that happen later on down the line, I think we've seen all we need to see of this one, guys. So feel free to talk to me in the comments. Let me know if I've misread something or if you have differing opinions. Or just let me know what you think is going to happen to this manga. If it'll continue getting serialized, or if the terrible fan reaction so far has killed it before it was truly born. In any case, I will see you guys in 2 weeks with another video. Bye!